Hello everyone, greetings of the day. Myself PRIYA, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, working in Madanapalli Institute of Technology and Science. In this session, I will be discussing about the topic TCP IP model. It is one of the important topic in computer network. Under TCP IP model, these are all the topics I will be discussing in this session. First one, introduction. Next one, what is TCP IP? What does TCP IP do? How does the TCP IP model work? Difference between the TCP and IP, layers of TCP IP model. Let me see one by one. First one, introduction. Suppose two persons wants to communicate with one another, there should be a sharing common language so that both persons should be able to understand what other person is saying. Similarly, in computer network, there is a common message format so that every computer should know what is the length of the message and which part of the message is the actual data and which part of the message is sender address, which part of the message is receiver address. This information will result successful communication. For example, one computer speaks ASCII format, another computer speaks Unicode format. There is no successful communication between this take place between these two computers because this two computer follows different format. For this reason, some ground rules are required for successful communication that we called as a protocol. A protocol is a collection of rules and procedure for two computers for exchange information. It also defines the format of data that is being exchanged. Next, what is a TCP IP? TCP IP is a set of protocols that support network communication. What is network and what is communication? A network, a group of computers are connected together by means of transmission media. The transmission media may be wired or wireless. Then what is communication? A communication, the process of sending the message from one device to another device through wired or wireless. Next, TCP IP was designed and developed by the Department of Defense in the year 1960s and it is based on the SCANDEC protocol. The TCP model is a concise version of the OSI model. What is concise? It is an overview of the OSI model because the TCP IP model consists of 4 layers whereas the OSI model consists of 7 layers. The TCP IP model came before the OSI model. As per the name TCP/IP, it consists of two important protocols. One is transmission control protocol and the second one is internet protocol, which are the core protocol of the internet. Next, what does TCP/IP do? This model work defines the how the data is transmitted across the network. The main condition of the TCP/IP is to ensure reliable communication between the devices. What is reliable communication? That means the data is delivered without any error to the receiver which is sent by the sender. Next, how does the TCP IP model work? In the TCP IP model, the TCP sender sends the data to the receiver. Here, the data is divided into smaller data units. Thus, data units we called as a segments. Each segment assigns a sequence number. What is the use of this sequence number means? It is used to identify the segments and order the segment at the receiver side. These segments are transmitted across the internet. Where at the receiver side, these segments are received and order the segments based on the sequence number to form the original message. Next one, difference between TCP and IP. TCP scans transmission control protocol and IP scans internet protocol. The transmission control protocol ensures accurate data delivery, whereas the IP protocol delivers IP address and route packets for the data packets that is transmitted across the network. The alternative form of TCP is UDP. UDP means User Datagram Protocol. The main difference between the TCP and UDP, TCP is highly reliable but it is very slow compared to UDP. Whereas UDP is less reliable and it is generally faster. Next, layers of TCP IP model. The TCP IP model is a network model that is mainly designed to support network communication. The TCP IP model consists of 4 layers: application layer, transport layer, network access layer. The other network model is OSI model. The OSI is Open System Interconnection. It consists of 7 layers: application layer, presentation layer, session layer, the transport layer, network layer, data link layer, and physical layer. So the OSI model, already I said that it is developed in the year 1984, which is developed by ISO, and each layer performs its own task. Whereas in OSI model, the model is in vertical approach, and the TCP IP model, the model is in horizontal approach. It consists of numerous protocols bundled at different layers in TCP IP model. The topmost layer of the TCP IP model is the application layer, where the application layer generates the message is passes down to the lower layer, that is next to the transport layer, where each layer that the message is encapsulated and from the above layer. So the encapsulation is nothing but it is adding the extra information to each message. So the size of the message becomes larger and larger in each layer. The data unit called in the layers of TCP IP model in different ways. The data unit in the application layer is called as a application message. The data unit in the transport layer, it is called as a TCP segment. The data unit in the network layer, it is called as a IP packet. The data unit in the data link layer and the physical layer is called as a Ethernet. So in TCP IP model, the data can be called in different ways at each layer. Already I said that TCP IP model consists of 4 layers: application layer, transport layer, internet layer, and network access layer. So the flow of data at the sender side, it is flow from top layer to the bottom layer, whereas at the receiver side, the flow of data is from bottom to the top layer. The first layer in the TCP IP model is application layer. This is the topmost layer of the TCP IP model. So the application layers allows the user to interact with the application. It acts as an interface between the application and the user, and also manages the smooth connection between the user and the application. The application layer is used by user applications. The user applications are Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, Microsoft Outlook, Skype, and the computer. These are all the user application, whereas Google Chrome and Mozilla Firefox are web browser that uses HTTP protocol to do web surfing. Next, email program such as Microsoft Outlook that uses SMTP protocol. SMTP is Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. This protocol is used for transferring the email messages. So the application layer provide to access information on the internet. Various protocols supported by the application layer. One is HTTP, next one SMTP, and third one is FTP. HTTP stands Hypertext Transfer Protocol. It is used for accessing the information available on the internet and also used for sending and receiving the web pages. Next, SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. This protocol is mainly used to deliver the email messages as well as email related scripts and issues. Last, FTP protocol. This is the standard protocol that is used to transfer the files over the network channel. Apart from this, 2 more protocols are supported by the application layer. One is DHCP, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. This protocol is used to assign IP address automatically to the system present in the network. Next, DNS. It stands domain name system that is used to translate IP address into domain name system. So next, second layer in the TCP IP model is a transport layer. The main responsible of the transport layer is end-to-end delivery of the message. It also mainly responsible for connection establishment between the sender and the receiver. So it also performs error control and flow control to ensure proper data transmission. What is error control? It is to be transmitted without error. What is flow control? Controls the data flow rate over the communication channel for smooth transmission of the data. The two important protocols used by the transport layer, one is TCP, another one is UDP. TCP stands Transmission Control Protocol. It is responsible for the proper transmission of segments over the communication channel. It is connection oriented protocol because it is establish a network connection between the source and destination system. Whereas UDP, it is user datagram protocol. It is connectionless oriented protocol and it is responsible for identifying errors and other tasks during the transmission of information. It also maintains various fields for data transmission such as source port address and destination port address, total length and checksum. Source port address and destination port address, this address is used to identify the application which is running in the system. Next, total length. It is defines the total number of bytes of the user datagram. So next one, checksum. It is used for error detection on the message at the destination side. Next, the difference between the TCP and UDP. Already I said TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol. It supports segmentation. What is segmentation? If the message is large, it is divided into smaller pieces. Each pieces we called as a TCP segment. So the data unit in the TCP we called as a TCP segment. The TCP segment is highly reliable because there is a data guaranteed delivery between the sender and the receiver. Whereas UDP does not support any segmentation. The message does not broken down into smaller data units. The data unit in the UDP is called UDP datagrams. It is highly unreliable compared to TCP. It also lacks in error checking and correction, whereas TCP performs error checking and correction. It also involves three main phases during data transfer. One is connection establishment, second one data transfer and connection termination. Whereas most of the protocol uses UDP because of fast and efficient. In the connection establishment phase, the sender TCP sends the packet to the receiver TCP about the connection request. After receiving the request from the sender, the receiver sends the acknowledgement to the sender TCP. After receiving the acknowledgement from the receiver TCP, again the sender further acknowledgement to the receiver. It is about the complete process of connection establishment. So the TCP is said to be connection oriented protocol. Otherwise, it is known as a three-way handshaking protocols. Once a connection is establishment, next the data transfer. During data transfer, TCP provides some feature, that is retransmission of lost data packet and discarding duplicate packet. Once the data is transmitted, next the connection is terminated. So already I said that TCP is connection oriented protocol. It establishes the connection between the sender and the receiver so that the data is guaranteed the delivery to reach the destination. The third layer of the TCP IP model is called as internet layer. The internet layer is also known as a network layer. The main responsible of the network layer is that routing the packet from one device to another devices so that it reaches the destination. It also provide IP address and also determine to route the packets to be reached to the destination. What is the assigning the IP address? It is used to identify the system. These are the three protocols supported by the internet layer. One is IP protocol. IP protocol scans internet protocol. It delivers the packet from the source to destination. Second one, ARP protocol. ARP scans address resolution protocol. So it is a network layer protocol which is used to find the physical address from the IP address. And the last protocol, ICMP protocol, it scans Internet Control Message Protocol. It mainly generate error reporting. If there is any error during transmission of data, it generate error reporting that is sent to the sender, which stops the further data transmission. The lowest layer of the TCP IP model is network access layer. A network access layer is the combination of physical layer and the data link layer defined in the OSI reference model. The main responsible of the physical layer is the physical and electrical representation of the system. It also performs a synchronization of bits. The main responsible of the physical layer helps topology and transmission medium decision. And next one, data link layer. The data link layer is mainly responsible for node to node delivery of data. It also mainly responsible for error freeness of the data transmission. It also performs incoming and outgoing of the data and also encoding and decoding the data. The main responsible of the data link layer is error control, flow control, and access control. Error control: if any data is corrupted during the transmission, the data link layer is responsible to find the error and correct the error by using error correction and detection mechanism. Next one, flow control. The flow control: the receiver receiving speed is less than the sender sending speed. The data link layer is responsible to synchronize the receiver and the sender speed. Last one, access control. This is very important responsibility of the data link layer. Access control: if more than one station access the same medium, there is a high probability of collision. So that the data link layer provide the mechanism such as carrier sense multiple access and carrier sense multiple detection. This mechanism is used to avoid the collision as well as the detection. This is about the network access layer. Thank you. I hope you understand what is a TCP IP model.